Oh God, they already up by 4.
Who?
Lord.
Oh, the Nuggets?
No, they were up by 9 a minute ago.
Yeah, now they're only up by 5. Like I'm just saying. Like,
Oh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unlimited Pancakes. With me today, like always, is Derek Key, aka Dr.DeWreck.
What the heck?
Well, I can't mess up.
No.
Okay.
Perfection.
With me is supposed Mr. Perfect, Elliot Nwosu, aka EpicPleasure.
Hello there.
Please.
Hi, how you doing?
And back from space
Awesome.
is Jonathan Leung, aka Balls to the Wall.
May the force be with you.
No, my God,
Always.
really? Why? Shut up! It's a beautiful movie. It doesn't. Yeah, but come on, everybody said that. Why you gotta repeat things?
Technically, you already said what you said, so everybody repeats everything.
So now we're saying that everybody. Well, okay, that's.
No, because you repeated the intro
Exactly.
like 4 times already.
No, I haven't.
This is the 4th one.
I mean, that's the 5th.
No, we weren't in the fourth one.
On the
that was
second
Jordan
one.
and the other guy.
So that's your fault. That's your fault.
Huh.
That's your. I
So you
invited
repeated yourself 4 times there.
I did. I
Hey,
invite
I'm
you.
on a tight schedule.
Well, you gotta go to work.
Yes, actually.
Please. Week 2 is upon us from these NBA playoffs, and everything has changed drastically. We go one week thinking that all these series were obvious, and we knew who the winners were.
Our sweeps were so busted.
All of a sudden, we look like fools. Everybody looks.
We sound like idiots, like coming out of our
Everybody looks like a damn fool because all of a sudden.
Except John,
fools.
because he wasn't here.
Yeah,
Except for me. I call the Kevin Durant asses. I told y'all.
Yeah, but
I told you guys to get
What
the
are you
loot.
talking about?
No,
The 40 points. I say he's gonna give game
Yeah, but
3.
Our asses wasn't like wide open.
Yeah, that game
still wide
3.
open.
That game 3 where he went for 41 on us.
Yeah, so let's start off with the easy ones. The Heat and the Spurs have an extended vacation. They demolished their. It wasn't even a series. It was a joke. No offense to the Bucks or the Lakers, but that was
No.
No.
Yeah,
the,
it was
last
a joke.
games, the last game of the Heat and Bucks did not even feel like playoffs.
The Heat won by double digits each game, so
Yeah. Terrible. Heat and Spurs basically got a first bye week, and they get to enjoy themselves.
at least-
Shane Battier grew a mustache because he was so bored. he has like a little coffee mug stash. And it was so bad in the Spurs series that Tracy McGrady had, I think he had like 2 assists or something like that. He was balling against those Lakers.
the curse is over.
I mean, yeah, I have to give it to. I can forgive the Lakers because they don't have Kobe. If they had Kobe, I'm telling
Oh
you,
my
it'll be a
God.
different series. Like,
But they don't
you guys
have
can't
it.
exactly.
What are you
don't.
gonna do
doesn't
when he's
matter.
old? Who are you gonna cheer for when he's old?
What are you talking about? I have me.
Hey, like Kobe told Dwight, put your big boy pants on. Put
Well,
on.
Well,
I don't care.
Dwight couldn't do it. He could not carry his team. Kobe's team.
Gasol tried though. You have to give it to him.
tried.
You have to give it to him though.
He couldn't.
I mean, I would hope they would have at least taken one game, but alas.
The team was too depleted. Both teams were just
Spurs were
terrible.
just
The
better
Heat and
team.
Spurs were disciplined. So easy series for the Heat and the Spurs. And this week we had it was an amazing week of basketball. So I guess one of the questions that I want to ask, a lot of stars, a lot of players had breakout performances, or old vets just, they just came out of nowhere and just suddenly played extremely well. So out of the week, which of the following players' performance impressed you the most? Nate Robinson's 34 points, 29 in the fourth quarter against the Nets in the triple overtime. Stephen Curry, 22 points in the third quarter of a 31-point performance. Chandler Parsons, near triple-double, 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists in the Game 4 survival. Kevin Durant's 41 points that demolished us in Game 3, which Elliot predicted. Or James Harden, who went 7 for 9 at the three-point line, almost broke Robert Ory's consecutive 3 points made record, which is at 7.
He was at 7 for 7 at one
Yeah,
point.
he was 7 for 7, but he could have gone 8 for 8, missed it. So out of all those 5 performances, I'm going to start with Derek. Which one just where you were like, wow, and you were just respect?
Stephen Curry's.
Stephen Curry?
Because I feel like he had the biggest impact in those games when he actually broke out and created magical numbers, and we saw it, and it was just something that Denver didn't have, like a superstar in Stephen Curry.
I feel like in this series it was we kind of didn't know who was going to be the superstar in this series, and then when it finally emerged, you knew Curry was something, but you weren't sure exactly if but all of a sudden he pops out. It was incredible. That was an amazing shooting performance. John?
I gotta go with Stephen Curry as well. I mean, he just literally just dominated Denver Nuggets. I mean, his shooting stroke and the way he just was able to penetrate their defense. I mean, this is his series to come out with. This is his moment to shine, and he's showing us why he's going to, in my opinion, could be possibly the number 2 point guard left in the playoffs instead of Darren Williams.
Interesting. Elliot?
You think they're Williams over Chris Paul?
No, Chris Paul's number 1.
Oh,
The number 2.
oh, possibly. Okay. Well, for me, it would have to be the Nate Robinson.
Kobe Bryant? No, continue.
It had to be the Nate Robinson performance. I don't have cable, so I can't really watch all these games. But for him to actually bring his team back, just like that has to be, because I mean, it's expected from somebody like Kevin Durant to go 41 or somebody like Stephen Curry to score, because he scored like that before in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
But Nate Robinson came out of nowhere.
This is true. And we were talking about this last week. Whoever showed up in that series would take the edge, and we were like, wow. So he decides to show up and in a big
just
way.
Blew up.
That game in general was really good.
Yeah, it was crazy. What, double overtime?
Triple
overtime?
That floater, like 20-foot floater.
ISO Joe. I was like, oh, God, every time I saw Joe Johnson. But then he made it. I was like, okay, guess he made him.
Yeah, so Nate Robinson for sure.
For me, it was also Nate Robinson. That game was a great game. I think it was like the first that really began this trend of, amazing games. And suddenly we saw the first round go from yawn to holy crap. We could possibly have 5 Game 7s. That's something to think about. Then we're going to start now going through the series. First one we're going to start going to is one we thought was going to be over, the Knicks and the Celtics. And these Celtics had to make us look like fools. We thought it was going to be a sweep.
No,
the
it's Knicks' fault.
The Knicks thought it was going to be a sweep. They went all in black, saying that they were coming to a funeral.
Yeah.
Embarrassed. What first reactions? What do you guys think?
I just feel like the Knicks lost control of Boston for a second, and they're letting them come back from a very sad series that Celtics played early on.
Yeah.
I think most of the blame has to go to Carmelo. I mean, I saw the box. The thing that immediately pops up is 24 points, but he needs to take 25 shots to make those 24 points. It just shows you how efficient he is. And plus, Tyson, they're not getting everyone involved in the game. Tyson Chandler, I haven't seen him dunk in the game forever. They haven't been able to do any off-ball moments. It's mostly just isolation plays for either J.R. Smith or Carmelo Anthony. And
you're absolutely right.
I mean, they just need to do more with the team. I know they're one of the best three-point shooting attack teams in the league. So I don't understand how they just decide to do isolation, not move the ball anymore. And
what I noticed when the threes weren't falling, that I feel like it sends like a panic, especially to Carmelo, and he goes back to old Melo. He regresses immediately when certain things don't go the right way, because I noticed he started doing the old things where he would hold the ball for 12 seconds while everybody else just stands, and then he decides to take an ill-advised jump shot. Mm-hmm. Same with J.R. Smith. He just, this is compiled of the Nuggets teams from the late 2000s or whatever, and they're basically playing like those Nuggets teams that got swept in the first round, or they lost in 5, and didn't move on. I mean, we're seeing them regress, and the thing with these Celtics, and they're proving it to everybody. You can't. These are, they're old and gritty, but they won't go down.
And you do them a favor by just doing isolation plays, because all the 4 guys won't have to play defense. They don't have to, be aware of the other players where they're going. They're just going to be standing around everywhere. I mean, they need to move the ball more. That's
taking inefficient shots against a team that doesn't even have to score. That it doesn't even have a true, doesn't score that well, and you're already giving them more of a chance. Come on, Elliot. What do you think?
I think, like I said, we all were saying that the Knicks were going to sweep, or at least like Game 5, and then with the suspension, I said for the Celtics have a chance to win with J.R. Smith going to be out of that game if the Knicks played sloppy, which they did. But then even when J.R. Smith came back this next game, like you mentioned the whole how Kenyon Martin tweeted, everybody wear black is going to be a funeral, like we're going to.
They got cocky.
Yeah, they got cocky, and then they actually wore black, and they came to the game, and then you lose. And like J.R. Smith, he went 0-10 his first 10 shots. He literally missed 10 of his first shots. Like he was just off that game.
And he kept shooting it.
Yeah,
that was the terrible thing.
And then like with the whole Melo scoring for 24 points and 25 shots, I mean, he was off. He was off as well. Like the whole Knicks just. They just didn't seem like themselves.
Boston, New York, they've been rivals forever. This isn't the first time that a professional team, and then those two, the Yankees back in 2004 had a 3-0 lead, and then the Red Sox came back. So
that's not going to happen, though.
Okay, I'm gonna leave with my question. So I'll start with you. You don't think it's possible that the Celtics could pull the first ever comeback after being 3-0?
I do not think so. I don't think they have the depth to do that, to pull it out, and then just they're just too old, honestly. KG, and I don't know KG, how long KG and Paul Pierce can be.
KG's had a resurgence in that game. He had 16 points, 18 rebounds.
Yeah.
He had a good double-double. I mean, all I'm saying is this. This is what we thought. They're old. But if the Knicks are going to give it to them, do you think that they'll straighten up? Do you think this is the game where that'll snap them? That they'll be the,
I think the Knicks will definitely bounce back. I mean, they're going to look. Mike Woodson will realize how he needs to incorporate other players so it make it easier for Carmelo and J.R. Smith to make offense for the team. But it's just, you need to be more of a team instead of just being one or two players doing everything for them.
Yeah, like those are what's it called? Melo he's had a terrible record in the playoffs. Also, he's only made it past the second round once,
and you can see why.
Since 2004, he's been to the playoffs every single year with his team, and only made it out of the first.
And it wasn't even because of him; it was because of Chauncey Billups that year, and he played incredible. Derek, do you think the Celtics, could pull up history?
I don't think the Knicks will allow it. Pretty much.
I think there's a possibility for me.
It exists now because we're witnessing it, but
because they have to travel back to Boston to play the next game.
Let me just ask you one real quick question before we move on. Let's say a Game 7 happens. An experience in those situations, Celtics versus Melo and these guys that have barely any first round, close out experience. Would you give it to the Celtics?
I'll give it to the Celtics, especially because if it does go to a Game 7, like the Celtics going to have all the momentum. Like, how would you feel losing 3 games in a row where all you had to do was win 1 to close out the series? Like, you're gonna be down. Like, you're gonna be kicked in the balls. So,
John, if it does come to Game 7, who do you favor?
I still favor the Knicks.
Okay.
I mean, they have veterans in Jason Kidd and Kenyon Martin and Tyson Chandler. They know what those situations are. I think those veterans will be able to step up for them, and I think Carmelo wouldn't allow it to happen. Okay. But he has to be smart about it. That's the key.
Derek,
he's not a smart
if
man.
it come to Game 7.
I think go with the Knicks.
Go with the Knicks?
Yeah.
Okay. I think if the Knicks don't win Game 6, I would say the Celtics, just because I feel that experience, being in that situation, they've been there lots of times. I can recall the Hawks series that went to Game 7, that incredible Chicago series that went to triple overtimes and 3. I mean, I fear the Celtics in Game 7. So the next series, which is another potential Game 7 series, the Pacers and the Hawks. We thought the Pacers, again, would sweep, take care of the Hawks. What happens? Atrocious. And they've had a bad record there. They've lost 12 straight games in that arena. I don't know why. They just can't play good at that arena. But one way to describe this series, it's kind of boring. It's very scripted. You know exactly what's happened. Whoever takes the early lead in their home court wins by double digits. There's not really much suspense. So if it's going to be like this, the way I see it, the Pacers will win in 7 just because they have home court. They'll lose in Game 6 because they can't win in Atlanta. But Atlanta is a terrible road team. They can't win in the Pacers. So it's just a long series just because it's long. What do you think, Derek?
I think you're right. Pretty much the same.
John?
The Pacers, I mean, the thing about both teams is that offensively, they don't know what their identity is. They have trouble. You see in games where Paul George or can't get it going, Hibbert and David West have struggled. And then for Atlanta, Josh Smith and Al Horford, sometimes they have a tough time getting going. So it's mostly a defensive series. As I agree with you, it does get boring. I will say Pacers will take it regardless.
Josh Smith is an enigma. 1 minute, he's doing incredible things, and then all of a sudden he's whining, complaining in that Game 5, getting foul calls. You don't know. This guy's going into a free agency, and you have a lot of question marks about, for starters, how smart he is in terms of
maturity well.
Maturity. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Maturity. Yeah. What do you think, Elliot, about this series?
It seems like the home team is taking every single game. It's going to be the Pacers. Like you said, somebody has to break the streak, and I don't see any of them doing it. So Pacers are going to take it to Game 7.
Yeah, and there's not much to talk about in this series. Like I said, very scripted, very obvious. Teams are just doing exactly what people think they are. And I've tried watching these games. They're not as exciting. They're just
just defensive.
It's just defensive. It's no rhythm. Every now and then you see a player do nice stuff. You're like, oh, nice, but I'm sorry, not a memorable Game 7 series.
Unless Paul George just decides to go crazy in Game 6.
It's like looking at the sun. It just burns your eyes.
Okay, the next series that we're going to discuss is the Nets and the Bulls. Right now, the game just finished today. We're recording on a Thursday. The Nets won against the Bulls 95-92, so it's going to go to a Game 7. And again, I used this word last week. I say it again. Sloppy. Whoever wants to show up. I guess I'll start with you, Derek, because I want to say something, but I'll start with you. What do you think so far? This is Game 7. What have you seen so far with these 6 games going into the Game 7? Who do you think has the advantage? What's your whole take on this series?
I just feel like Chicago is very scrappy for a team, even though they have injuries. Even they're very injury prone throughout the season, especially with Luol Deng and Heinrich out today with the flu. And like you said, like you've been saying the whole series, that whoever steps up will do well and will win the game. But Chicago, whoever is not present, the other team will just step up and be scrappy and just play to their fullest and try to win the games. For me, I will give the Bulls credit, because throughout the whole season they never made any excuses about injuries, about how not having their roles. They always said, "Hey, we're gonna play the game as with our team. We're not gonna make any excuses." But the thing I have a problem with Chicago is they're a great team with guards and offense when they can move the ball. But the thing is, when their plays just get broken, nobody can make the offense except for Nate Robinson. It's only either Nate Robinson. That's why you see him taking a lot of shots. They had to throw to Nate Robinson because he's the only one who can make the offense for them. So that's the reason why, in my opinion, I think the Nets will take it, because they have Brook Lopez who can take over down low, or Darren Williams who can be that perimeter threat that I don't believe Chicago really has.
Elliot?
Yeah, I think the Nets are going to take it also. Like I said, like losing the closeout game when you're at home, it's devastating. And then you have to travel to Brooklyn and play the Nets. Like they didn't have Luol Deng or Kirk Heinrich playing in today's game, but still, this is your time to close out the game, have a little bit of rest before you go and face your imminent defeat against the Heat. But you can do it, so they're going to go back to like Brooklyn and get destroyed by Brook Lopez and Darren Williams.
But here's the thing. I actually have a different point of view in this. I'm going to say this for starters. The Heat, whoever they face, it's going to be it's going to either be a 4 or 5. This is a Bull team that's scrappy, that has all these flaws, and yet the Nets can barely survive. And they basically have their whole team intact. This is their team going, and the Bulls don't have. At one point in Game 6, Boozer was out. Who was it? Tayshaun, or was it Butler that fouled out?
Gibson and Boozer fouled out.
Boozer, Gibson fouled out. Noah.
And Noah's playing tough for Shidus.
Deng is out. Heinrich is out. You have basically 6 of your top players, and the Nets barely won by 3. I don't see any passion. I don't see any drive. They're just playing basketball. When I look at this Nets team, I'm not intimidated by them. I don't feel any belief. I think that they're just going through the motions. They're going to win this series just out of pure skill and talent. But then when they face a Heat team that is disciplined, if the Heat face the Nets, they're going to face a very good team, but not an amazing team. And if they face the Wolves, a very flawed, injured team, the Heat have a very easy road just because of how sloppy and unpassionate these Nets are playing.
I think even if they were playing on par, like it's the Heat still. So
about the Nets.
The challenge. That's what the point of this whole offseason was. The Nets was create a team to challenge. I don't see any fight in this team. They're just going to get stomped if they go to the next round.
I think if Bulls win and actually face the Heat, they put up a bigger fight than the Nets.
I agree with that.
And
I agree.
It's because their discipline their defense is just so disciplined. Like, if you watch the games against the Chicago versus the Heat, it's just they know how to play against them well enough. And also they have Boozer and Noah and Gibson to follow up.
Noah's the heart. You have grit. You have a team that...
Toughness.
Exactly.
That's what they don't...
They have a defined character, just missing their players. The Nets, they're just a very, they're like that pretty toy that looks good, but there's no depth to it. There's no context.
It's a very simple team. Is give it to Joe Johnson or Darren Williams, and then...
Yeah, sometimes the occasional Brook Lopez, but then, what happens when you give it to Brook Lopez? Then he it's just man-to-man. It's a very stagnant offense. And
they need an identity. That's the problem. They don't know what they are. Because you see the Bulls, even though their players get out, they're a defensive team. They all know it. That's why they all commit themselves to the defense. You look at the Nets, well, who are they? We don't even know who they are. We don't know if they're an offensive team. We don't know if they're the offensive team. We don't know who's their go-to guy, who they want it to be.
Exactly. You look at the roster, it's a nice-looking roster. It's not a bad roster, but then when you see them play, you're like, who are they? Yeah, exactly. Identity crisis. So, but we'll get to the round 2 stuff later. So on to the West. Again, great series. They've gotten even better. Let's start off with the Warriors and Nuggets. Wow. I'm just going to start off with that. Curry's breakout. You had an incredible Game 3. Iguodala missed the three-point shot. Very close game. Game 5, Nuggets were, stomping all over Curry. You got supposedly Jackson fined because he called them dirty. This game has been everything and more. It could possibly go to a Game 7. Currently playing right now, Derek, what's the score?
42-40. Nuggets.
At halftime?
Halftime.
The Warriors just got David Lee. Makes it a little more interesting. For starters, who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to win Game 6 right now?
Right now, this game, the Warriors. From the looks of it, it looks like the highest point scorer right now is Andrew Bogut with 8, and they have 40 points, so which means the ball is getting distributed to everybody. Like, everybody's getting a touch, everybody's scoring here and there. So, and the bench must be putting in some work too. So I'm going to give it to the Warriors. Just look for Curry to come out in the third or fourth quarter and just destroy.
John?
As much as I admire the Warriors' home court, I'm going to say the Nuggets are going to win Game 6. It's because the reason I say that is because I think Kenneth Faried is coming back to full strength.
He's been playing much better.
It's Game 3. You see the first 3 games, he wasn't as explosive. Game 5, you see him more acting to his strengths.
He was getting highlight dunks all over the place.
I think the Nuggets can win if it's not a close game by the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Game 3, Nuggets proved that they don't have anybody to rely on for that last second shot. I mean, Lawson is probably their best option as a scorer.
That was always their knock, though. No star to give the ball to.
So, I mean, if it's not a close game, I feel like the Nuggets can win this and by the fourth quarter.
Same question. I mean, if the series ends up going to a Game 7 also, who do you give the edge to, Derek?
Curry and the Warriors.
The Warriors?
They have Curry, and he's just scary.
I'm going to go with Denver Nuggets because I just think the Warriors are too inexperienced, and their reliance on jumpers just... A team that lives by the jumper dies by the jumper. I think if they don't make jumpers on the road, which they have difficulty in, I don't see them winning in Game 7.
Okay. Elliot?
If it does go to Game 7?
If it goes to
Game 7, it's going to be the home team, the Nuggets. It's going to be hard for them to win on the road, especially if it is a Game 7. I'm going to give it to Nuggets. But I'm still saying they're going to win tonight. So the Warriors are going to win tonight.
Okay, so it's whoever wins this game. If it's Warriors, then they have it. But the Nuggets,
the home team is going to win.
Okay, and I agree too. I believe if it were to go to a Game 7, I would give it to the Nuggets. I feel like that home court edge would be just enough to get them to that next round versus the Spurs. Next series, Clippers and Grizzlies. It's been the rebound game. It's been the basically the story of the series. Game 4, the Grizzlies won the rebound game 45-33, took away the second chance points. Game 5, 42-40, a close one, but still, the Grizzlies conquered. The thing that I'm noticing, first off, the Clippers were exposed badly in Game 5, where finally you saw Chris Paul. He plays hero, but then, if he's not distributing the ball, the half-court offense is non-existent. No one can create their own offense for themselves unless Chris Paul is distributing. The Grizzlies made sure to stop the ball movement, so you had no one really, dictating or making, themselves, cutting, anything, nothing. There was nothing going on in the half court, and that went to the Grizzlies' advantage. No one, finally, Zebo and, Gasol are on par. No one can stop that tandem. Reactions so far to this series and, what you've seen, what you like?
This is a very physical game for the series, and like you pointed out earlier, is a rebounding game. Whoever's going to win the rebounding totals, it's going to win the game.
Okay, John.
For me, I think the Grizzlies finally hit their mark. When I mean that, they're finally going to Marc Gasol, because the thing I had a problem with Memphis was that last year they kept giving it to Rudy Gay, and they was like, "Hey, Rudy Gay, create offense for us." But now this year, the Grizzlies realized, "Hey, we have 2 bigs. Nobody can stop them. Why don't we just keep force-feeding them in there?" And the Clippers, they don't have a response for that. And plus, with the injury to Blake Griffin, I mean, they're tough. I mean, their athleticism and their power forward depth is just too thin. I had to change my prediction. Give it this one to Memphis.
I called it. Elliot?
I'm going to have to say Memphis. I didn't expect the series to go this way. I think at first I predicted the Clippers to win in 5 or 6, I think. So
I was the one that had Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's surprising. Like I said, the only reason I didn't want the Grizzlies to win is because Tayshaun Prince is on that team.
Ironically, Tayshaun Prince has been the X factor. One of the big reasons why he found his shooting touch. Game 5, 15 points, 6 for 10 field goal, 2 for 3 from the 3-point line. Game 4, 15 points as well. He is proving and solidifying that Rudy Gay trade was a very smart trade.
It looks like it is now. It looked like that from, I guess, the very start when the trade happened. Memphis is looking too good right now. Like with Griffin questionable and then Chris Paul having like being banged up as like his thumb or something. I don't see the Grizzlies losing at home.
Yeah, Game 6 is at the Grindhouse. So do you think it's over? Game 6?
Yes, I think it's over.
It ends in Game 6. John, do you think it'll go to Game 7?
No, the Memphis, the power tandem plus the injury to Blake Griffin. I honestly think Memphis finishes them off, and I think after they finish off Clippers, they're gonna go to the conference finals because they get to go against the first seed, and whoever they face, whether it be the Rockets, Oklahoma City, I mean they're not gonna be able to handle Memphis at all. So Memphis, their eyes are. If I'm Memphis, and my eyes are wide open, I just want to finish them off.
I am with you on that one. The Grizzlies all of a sudden have a window that we could see this team because I'll just go as far as this: if the Grizzlies face the Spurs, that's a favored match for the Grizzlies. You know, they beat them. You know, just I believe it was 2 years ago in that first round upset. We could see the Grizzlies possibly go to the finals. It's there. The window of opportunity is there.
Did you just say the Thunder or the Rockets? Please.
We'll get to that.
It's going to be the Thunder.
We'll get to that. Derek, do you believe that it's over at Game 6 in Memphis's house?
Yes, I think so. And the funny thing is, we all questioned the GM office in Memphis when they made that trade for Rudy Gay. Their motive was for money, and we believed that they were out of the season and they were out.
I don't think it was that. I think it was more title contention.
Okay,
yeah,
fine. Okay, yeah, fine.
Not playoff contention because they were too deep in there.
Okay, yeah, fine. Title contention, but now they're proving that they actually have with the right setting. They actually prove that they have a chance to go to the finals.
I think what's been a conclusion is two things. It's proven that Rudy Gay, unfortunately, with all his potential that everybody was raving about, is just a decent one-dimensional scorer, and you can replace his production with a Tayshaun Prince, and because the ball isn't being hogged by Gay, all of a sudden you have good rhythm. You're relying on your two bigs, which is a plus, instead of having a contradiction of should the bigs be the one to get the last or our supposed star Rudy Gay. You took that away, and it's the bigs team, and that's very dangerous. They have a sort of twin towers going on there. Who knows where this Memphis Grizzlies team could go. So the last series we're going to talk about is the Rockets and Thunder. And we can, you kind of thought with Russell Westbrook gone from this team, maybe there's a chance. You didn't think it was going to be like this. In Game 5, we saw a lot of things that just made you say, wow, One thing that I'll get to you guys quick, but just one analogy that I think of. One of my favorite movies is the Rocky IV, where Rocky has to go up against Drago, the Russian guy. I feel that, at the beginning of the match, everybody's like, okay, you can't beat the Russian guy. You punch him once and you see him bleed, and it's like, he's human. He's not a robot. You can take him down. There's a chance. There's a chance. So, Derek, your reaction so far. What have you seen? What are you thinking? What's going through your head?
I love Chandler Parsons. I'm not afraid to admit that. I feel like he's just a complete package. As a player, he can do a lot of great things without hogging the ball, and he's just a very impactful player.
John?
Well, for me, I just feel sorry for OKC because they literally just lost their Thunder. You can see their
2 puns in a row. Oh my god!
I'm sorry, but you just see their body language. It's like, even though they win the series, there's no point of us going because we're not going to beat Memphis. We're not going to beat the Clippers. Just when Russell Westbrook went out, they can see that all their title hopes, all their playoff hopes, they just die down with them. And the thing is, I wouldn't completely clear out Houston from coming back from 3-0. The reason why is because Scott Brooks doesn't have confidence in his lineup of Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins, and he has to play small ball. And the problem is that it reminds me of when Dallas Mavericks, when they were going against the Golden State in 2006-2007, they changed their lineup to accommodate or to better match up with Golden State. The problem is Golden State's played small ball throughout the whole season. That was the strength, and then Dallas changed their game in order to beat them, and they lose. You can't beat a team that's been playing small ball the whole season, and that's why I see Rockets have an advantage of. They've been playing small ball this whole year, so that the advantage goes to them because they know how to operate, they know how to make an offense in order to win. So I'm not going to say Rockets in 7. I'm going to say the possibility of them coming back
has skyrocketed.
Deficit has really given them hope, and the Rockets players, they can see it, they know it.
Yeah, Elliot.
It's time for Kevin Durant to shut everybody up. It's time to shut the Houston fans up. I mean, I would love nothing more than to see Kevin Durant cry going home.
Good Lord.
Because he...
Why must everything be suffering for you?
Second best.
Well, see, technically, if he loses, he won't be second best, you know?
He won't be best anyway.
But, I mean, I don't see the Rockets... I can see us winning and forcing a 3-3 in Game 7, but I don't see us taking... I don't see us winning in Oklahoma again. Like, it's God... near impossible.
Game 7. If Houston pulls a Game 7, do you believe that Houston could win this?
The chances are very high, but I still think OKC will still win at home because I don't think we can repeat the same performance that we did last night.
I think Houston wins Game 7 if they can take the crowd out of it early, take the OKC crowd out of it early, and they can hit their threes. But I'm going to give it the Thunder, though.
Thunder. Like, Kevin Durant, if it does go to Game 7, like, Kevin Durant's going to transform. It's going to come back like Super KD or some shit like that, just destroy us all.
I am an extreme believer in this team. I am an extreme believer in the unfortunate events that have occurred, and I feel very terrible for this Thunder team because even if they get to go to the next round, we will not see the full potential of this team. Whoever comes out of this series, the Rockets and Thunder, they're going to face, I think it's going to be the Grizzlies. They are not prepared for that defense. That is a defense, that is a front court that is too strong. But I am a true believer that the Rockets can pull this off. I want to see it, and I believe it can happen.
I think the Rockets believe that can happen. I mean, they can see it.
They believe
shooting threes like that, definitely.
Red Nation.
And we're gonna get bandwagon fans.
No, you can see it on Facebook already.
I know.
I saw it on Facebook.
It's begun. Okay, so the last thing we're going to discuss, by the time we do the next episode, already all the round 2 series are going to begin. So instead of predicting the series, what we're going to do is talk about the teams that either are in the next round or will go in the next round and who their preferred matchup is. The first team that I'm going to go with, the Miami Heat. Between the Brooklyn Nets and the Chicago Bulls, who do you believe the Heat would prefer to face in a second round? Derek?
The Nets, like you guys said, they don't have an identity, and they just feel like a very lackluster team with no real motive to keep going. They're just playing to play.
I'm going to say Miami wants to see Nets. The reason why is because I think the Miami still has that sour taste when the Chicago ended their winning streak, 33-game winning streak, and it's kind of like a mental battle for them. So I think just mentally, Miami knows Chicago has an edge on them because of their concept of playing defense.
Okay, Elliot?
Yeah, the Heat would rather face the Nets at this point because the Nets can't even beat a banged up Chicago team. Like they barely had Rose is out, Heinrich was out, what's it called? Deng was out, Noah's a little banged up, and so like they only won by 3 points. Mm-hmm. So there's no way they're gonna even compare to the Heat. So.
And the Nets, they were swept in the regular season series. The Nets, like we said, you just see a team that if they go in, they would just get spanked. A very good team, but you would face a very good team, and there's
a good team versus a great team.
A great team, pretty much, and very disciplined players. A coach that is going to make sure that if they lose their discipline, they'll keep them in line. And I look at it even still. If they face the Bulls, same thing. This, whoever comes out of this, the Heat, they have a goal. They have a pass to the conference finals. Mm-hmm. Okay, next team. San Antonio Spurs also ended their series very quickly, have time to rest their players, which we know, they could definitely use the rest, trying to keep Tim Duncan and those legs fresh. They would face the winner of the Nuggets-Warriors series. Who do you believe who do you believe the Spurs would prefer to face, a Warriors team or a Nuggets team?
I feel like they would like to face the Warriors team better. I feel like they can do a better job at holding Stephen Curry and Jared Jack compared to
the whole threes.
The whole threes instead of dealing with a very physical Nuggets team with McGee and Fareed, because Tim Duncan held out Dwight Howard, but that took quite a bit of effort, I'm assuming. Cause
actually, the sad part is not really. But I think that's what you mean, that he dominated a very lackluster Howard. You have a very strong, athletic, McGee and Fareed, just like you're saying, and they're going to be flying everywhere,
Yeah.
So it could be interesting. So Warriors?
Warriors.
John?
I don't think the San Antonio would prefer to take the Warriors. My reason is that I think because of how the Spurs play defense is that they try to take superstars out of the game. And I think the reason why San Antonio would struggle with the Nuggets is because the Nuggets don't have a superstar. They have different guys who can come in and score for them. I remember the one game where the Nuggets just blew them out by 15 points. Where they just forced them to turnovers and just they're better athletes than them. So I'm gonna say Spurs would prefer the Golden Nuggets because they can take Steph Curry out of his comfort zone.
Wait, they would prefer the Warriors?
I'm sorry, the Nuggets. I mean, they prefer the Warriors. Yeah, you
Hey, I didn't confuse you. You confused yourself. All right, don't make it look like
I'm sorry.
Don't start blaming me. I am the master chef. I command this. Okay, continue.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I mean, they already said most of the points. They would rather face the Warriors. Like, it's easier to stop one person than it is to stop a whole team that's younger than you. Like, and then they know they're younger than you. They're just gonna run laps around you. Make Tim Duncan run his fat ass up and down the court.
I mean, either way, both teams are fast, so they're gonna make the Spurs run. But I do agree that the Warriors' key is that 3-point. And I think, the Spurs have the defense to, adjust to the three-pointer, take it away from them, force them to go inside the paint. And I believe that, Splitter, Bonner, Duncan, you have an experienced team in the Spurs. I believe, they would prefer the Warriors. If they take the Nuggets, I still believe, I do believe the Spurs would have definitely a hard time with that athleticism, but I still think that they have, the schemes strong enough to, at least the ability to slow them down. That's one of the key things. The Nuggets are going to want to go fast. I feel that the Spurs have the ability to slow down that team and make them play at their own pace. And if that happens, it doesn't matter all the athleticism in the world because the Nuggets, they're going to be playing to the Spurs game. So, but definitely Warriors would be a better advantage. Well, we had the Knicks going, to the second round. A lot of us still do. So let's assume that the Knicks, are the team that are going to face the winner of the Pacers and Hawks. Who do you see the Knicks wanting to face, the Hawks or the Pacers?
Is that even a question?
Yes, this is a question.
Hawks.
Why?
I can't even explain it. It's just
they're an easier team.
Yeah.
No. John, what do you think?
The Hawks.
The Hawks?
Move on, please.
Well, what would you say for a Knicks-Pacer series?
I would say that's going to be one of those grind them out type of games because both teams are establishing themselves as teams that make their identity from defense. I see Tyson Chandler and David West and Warhead getting into it. I see a lot of spats going between those teams. But I don't even know who to call for that one. I would say I'll just give it the Knicks because I think Carmelo, still hopeful that Carmelo is that superstar who can take them to the next level. And I think he wants to be that one.
He hasn't proved it. I don't think he
No, this is his moment to prove it. This series,
he's failing already in this series,
defining his career. If he loses in the first round
again,
I would not believe the repercussions of him losing that series.
Go back home and cry.
I think the Knicks' expectations is the conference finals at least. You brought a Carmelo Anthony. You believe he was in the same class as LeBron James. You believe that he has the same amount of talent, just hasn't had the same amount of success, obviously. If I look at a Knicks-Pacers series, like you said, a lot of, fighting in the paint. You have Paul George going up against a Carmelo Anthony. It's a pretty even series, being the X factor, I believe, is the Knicks' ability to shoot the three. If they can shoot the three, then I believe it goes in the favor of the Knicks. So just real quick, if you were to see a Pacers-Knicks series, what would you say? Who is the favorite tip to?
It depends on how the Knicks play. If they play like how they're playing with Celtics right now, then I'm going to have to give it to the Pacers.
Ironically, though, the Pacers aren't even really giving themselves that much of a, they're stagnant on the road. And it's weird.
Because they don't have Danny Granger like last year in the playoffs. They still
need the offense. I don't think Danny
offense.
Granger is that much of a difference.
I still think they just need a little bit more offense. And I still give it to the Pacers in that series against the Knicks.
Well, based on what we've talked about, originally the question was who would the Thunder prefer to face? But now after everything we talked, who do you think? We believe strongly that the Grizzlies will be in the second round. And seeing how this, the balance of power has shifted, who do you think the Grizzlies would prefer to face, the Thunder or the Rockets? Or is it indifferent?
I think without Russell Westbrook, they would rather face the Thunder, in my opinion. The Rockets right now, we're playing pretty damn amazing. Like considering we don't like our best player is James Harden, and then isn't Lynn out too?
Lynn's out.
Yeah,
Bruce chest.
And then like our bench has stepped up. Like I think that they'll rather face a broken down the team than face us at this point.
John?
I would say, honestly, Memphis would prefer to go against the Rockets. Our reason is because even though OKC goes in it, they still have bigs that can match up with Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol, with Kendrick Perkins and Serge Ibaka. And I don't think defensively Memphis has a good matchup with Kevin Durant. And when you see the Rockets, their biggest weakness is their front court, where you only have Amir Asik coming up, and Greg Smith is still improving. Terrence Jones, none of the young guys can step up. So I think just the way the Memphis plays, I think they'll prefer the Rockets.
Okay. Derek?
I think they would prefer the Rockets too, like what John said. That Twin Towers in Memphis is a very hidden treasure that nobody really appreciates, and especially with two big men that can create their own shots and have great passing ability in Marc Gasol and the athleticism of Zach Randolph, that they'd rather face the Rockets with Amir Asik.
Yeah, I believe that actually, honestly, I want to say that I would rather face the Thunder just because of the way that they've been, playing recently. But what the playoffs have taught us, all of a sudden they could figure it out, and then suddenly, the favor tips the Thunder. I feel that the Rockets, they're just, it's a good offense, but they don't have, the defense is much better than the offense. I feel that, that perimeter players would take away the three-pointer. You've got those two interior players that are not good only on defense but on offense. It tips the favor to face the Rockets, and we couldn't even beat them in the regular season. We got swept by them too. And I know regular series don't really matter, but it is a reference. It's something to look back at and say, these teams, certain matchups, tips the favor to another. So, here we come to the end. We come to the end of another podcast. We've been doing this now consecutively for
about 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've been keeping up. We've been doing our homework. Any last words?
You know what? I was just thought it was funny. You remember those LeBron James and Kobe puppet commercials?
Yeah.
I miss those commercials.
Those
were so funny.
I remember those commercials.
God.
Remember we used to watch, I'm trying to think of the one with the
with the rings?
Yeah.
Those were really good. I wish they'll make more of those.
Yeah, but John, any last words?
None.
Hey, that was a word.
Why don't you want to say anything? No. Why do you want us to look like fools?
I just want this on record. I didn't come because I was out. They threw me out. They didn't want me here.
What?
They didn't throw you out.
I didn't understand them. He was like,
Continue.
God, you're insane.
Continue.
Okay, so I guess that concludes this episode of Unlimited Pancakes. Enjoy your pancakes. And good night.
You mean basketball?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Enjoy watching basketball and pancakes. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.